Hello and welcome to C++ Weekly. I'm your host Jason Turner. In this episode, I'm going to discuss C++ 17's new class template type deduction. So in C++ 98, 11, and 14, if you wanted to use a template class, you would have to specify the types. So you would end up with something like this when we're using a tuple. And we are just instantiating one that is of type int and has the values 1 and 2. There's nothing complicated going on here. And this led to the creation of some helper utilities. So we could end up with things like this make tuple helper that would help us to deduce the types of our tuples. Now in C++ 17, we don't need to do that anymore. We can instead simply say, I want a tuple of type nothing. You don't have to tell it. And I want to instantiate it with the values 5 and 6. And the compiler is able to automatically deduce this for us. And this is pretty cool. And I can see that in a lot of cases, it's actually going to help clean up and simplify some code. However, in playing with it, I have learned that there are a few caveats to it. The first is that we don't really know what this type is. It says standard tuple, but that's not actually accurate. It is not a just tuple. It is a tuple of a particular number and type of types. And this is well illustrated by if we were to create another one and simply want to compare the two. What is the compiler going to do here? So unfortunately, the font is a bit small, but we're getting a static assertion error because these two tuples types do not have the same number of elements. So let's say they do have the same number of elements, but they are completely different things. I don't know, let's make a tuple with a couple of lambdas in it because there's no reason we can't. And now we get even longer error telling us that we've got a mismatched set of types. While we are creating something that is a tuple, we don't really know what kind of tuple it is, and I think this could potentially lead to some confusion in our use of this new feature in the future. The other thing is that while it is really cool, it cannot do everything. So it must have some way of matching up the template constructor with the template type that you want to create. So if you take standard function instead, which takes a function signature for its type, but you can construct it with virtually anything, and we try to do something like this, we get an error from the compiler saying cannot deduce template type arguments here. So we see this in our error output, that it has no deduction guides or user declared constructors. So in the next episode, I am going to discuss exactly what deduction guides are and how we can use them to maybe do some even more interesting things with our automatic class template type deduction. Be sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and check out any of the links below.